This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. I am Franco Baranda. It's Friday, the 4th day of August, and you're watching Newsline World. We're here to bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. First, India's Prime Minister will attend the BRICS summit in South Africa in person following media speculations that he will attend the event virtually. Tensions in Africa continues to rise at an alarming point after the Niger junta terminated the authority of the envoys of US, France, and other country representatives. Meanwhile, its ousted president called for foreign intervention to combat the junta. In South Korea, at least 14 people were injured after a man randomly began stabbing people at a shopping mall. China braces for its heaviest rainfall in more than 100 years as Typhoon Khanun approaches. And Thailand is still in a political deadlock after the selection of its prime minister has been delayed again. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. Tensions between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah continues to escalate on the two countries' border region. Tensions between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah continues to escalate on the two countries' border region. Footage captured on Thursday shows the battle-scarred Ain al-Hulwa, a Palestinian refugee camp peppered with bullet holes in the aftermath of renewed clashes between rival factions despite a ceasefire agreement. The fighting on Wednesday in Ain al-Hulwa, the largest of 12 Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon, was reportedly the most deadly since the clashes began on Sunday, although had calmed the following day. The conflict between hardline Islamist groups and the Fatah movement, backed by Palestinian President Abbas, has left at least 13 people dead, 60 wounded, and as many as 20,000 displaced near the port of city of Saida. Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati has threatened to send his army to the said refugee camp. Palestinian leaders called the conflict a heinous massacre and a terrorist assassination of national security forces who were striving to keep the camp and its residents safe. To note, more than 60,000 people are believed to live in the area, according to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East. The military junta of Niger has revoked the mandates of 4 of its diplomatic representatives a week after it staged a coup to oust Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum. Meanwhile, Bazoum pleaded with the West for help to defeat the Nigerian military. Virgil Parba reports.
The military junta, led by General Abdurrahman Chani, recently declared the authority of diplomats representing France, Togo, Nigeria, and the United States as terminated. The announcement came as ousted Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum penned an article in Washington Post on Thursday asking the U.S. government to intervene. Bazoum labeled the coup as unjustified and sought international help to combat the military junta. He referred to earlier praise from U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and described Niger with him in power as the last bulwark against the influence of Russia in the region of Sahel. Bazoum expressed concern over the rise of movements in neighboring countries such as Mali and Burkina Faso, employing the Russian paramilitary Wagner Group, which is known for its tactics in Ukraine. Notably, absent from Bazoum's letter was any mention of Niger's significant uranium exports to former colonial power France. The junta is reportedly playing on anti-Western sentiment and has announced that they were removing agreements with France and the US, under which both countries retain about 2,500 of their troops in Niger. The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, a 15-country regional bloc, issued an ultimatum last week demanding Bazoum be reinstated and that member states may otherwise use force. But the junta remains undeterred. General Chani condemned ECOWAS sanctions and vowed to respond with force to any outside intervention. He also banned uranium and gold exports to France. The junta has also indicated that it considers neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso to be friendly nations. To recall, Mali and Burkina Faso issued a joint communique warning that any military intervention against Niger would also amount to a declaration of war against them. And on Wednesday, Niger General Salifu Moudi, one of the military officers who seized powers to oust Bazoum, visited Mali amid speculations of possible interest in the Wagner Group, noting that hundreds of Wagner forces are stationed in Mali. Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin also lauded the coup and ordered his services to Niger. Meanwhile, an ECOWAS delegation visited Niger's capital Niamey this week to negotiate the possible resolution to the crisis. According to African media, the talks failed on Thursday. Reporting, this has been Virgil Parba, SMNI News.
America may consider sending armed personnel to guard the Strait of Hormuz in an aim to stop Iran from seizing civilian vessels in the strategic waterways. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
Assalamu alaikum. Tensions between Iran and the United States are bound to escalate further after American officials announced they plan to send armed personnel on commercial ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. plans to send armed troops in tankers to counter Iran's seizure of foreign vessels in the strategic waterway. Among the latest incidents involved the seizure of tankers Nayovai and Purity over separate legal disputes regarding ownership, while the Marshall Islands flagged Advantage Suite was taken due to a collision with an Iranian ship. Without offering much details, American officials said thousands of Marines and sailors are on their way to the Persian Gulf, who are on board the amphibious assault ship USS Bataan and the USS Charter Hall. So far, the U.S. has sent A-10 Thunderbolt II warplanes, F-16 and F-35 fighters, as well as the destroyer USS Thomas Hudner and other warships to the region in response to the seizures. Meanwhile, Iran has accused the U.S. Navy of defending a fuel smuggling activity after the American personnel interfered the inspection of a vessel called Nada II, associated with smuggling Iran's oil and gas into the waters of the Persian Gulf on the 6th of July. Fuel smuggling is rampant in Iran, resulting in the seizure of foreign vessels abusing the Islamic Republic's generous fuel subsidy scheme. Foreign vessels would buy heavily subsidized fuel within the country and smuggle it to neighboring states, where it can be sold nearer to market price, hence providing an opportunity for higher profits. Barakallahu jamian, kan hada Melchizedek Cadiz sa akhbar SMNI, Kuwait.
United States former President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to the most recent charges filed against him. As Marshall has the details.
As the 2024 presidential election quickly approached, former U.S. President Donald Trump continues to face legal woes as he was charged on 4 counts by a federal grand jury for attempting to overturn the previous presidential election. The charges are namely conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Following this, Trump appeared in a Washington, D.C. court on Thursday 4 p.m. local time, wherein he pleaded not guilty. Prior to appearing in court, Trump said in a post on his own Truth Social platform, the latest fake case brought by crooked Joe Biden and deranged Jack Smith will hopefully be moved to an impartial venue, such as the politically unbiased nearby state of West Virginia. Impossible to get a fair trial in Washington, D.C., which is over 95% anti-Trump, and for which I have called for a federal takeover in order to bring our capital back to greatness. It is now a high crime embarrassment to our nation, and indeed the world. This indictment is all about election interference. It can be noted that despite such allegations, Trump notably remains to be ahead in polls. Meanwhile, U.S. Magistrate Judge Moxila Upadhyaya has scheduled the next hearing in the case on the 28th of August at 10 a.m. local time. This is Hans Marshall reporting, SMNI News.
A disturbing incident shocked South Korea after a man began randomly stabbing people at a shopping mall in a province near Seoul, leaving many people injured. Sela Yoon reports.
2 people are in critical condition after being stabbed in a shopping mall in Bundang in Gyeonggi province in South Korea. Authorities said that 2 of the 14 injured people are at risk of brain death. Among the injured, 5 were hit by the suspect with his car on the sidewalk near a shopping mall. Right after leaving his car, the suspect then entered the mall and proceeded to stab 9 people. The suspect is currently in police custody. The man was said to be in his 20s, and authorities are still figuring out his motive behind the crime. In response to this, President Yoon Suk-yeol called the incident an act of terrorism and ordered authorities to strengthen and tighten the security against similar crimes. Seoul is Sela Yoon Imnida, SMNI News, South Korea.
In Japan, retailers fear the possible effect of the scheduled plan to release nuclear waste water from the crippled Fukushima power plant. Hector Kikozaki tells the story.
Local businesses in Fukushima are worried of the possible effects of the country's plan to release contaminated water from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Takashi Nakajima runs a food supermarket in Soma City, located about 40 kilometers north of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. He fears that the plan to release treated radioactive water into the sea would affect his business that he inherited from his father and has been in operation for more than 4 decades.
それが12年前ですよね。やっぱり地元のものをね、本当に食べて大丈夫なのかと。で、それを子供にも食べさせるのかと。私が販売することによってね。もしかしてね、間接的に私は殺人をするかもしれないと。放射能は安全であることを図ってますからと言われても、やっぱり食べたくないと地元の人たちが考えて全く売れなかったですよ。5年ぐらいね、地元の魚を売ることがね、非常にこの心の痛みになって、商売に対する意欲が全く私なくなったの。きっとね、流し出したらかなり売れなくなると思いますよ。地元の魚もね、やっぱ食べなくなると思う。この地元の人たちがね、日本の政府は汚染水って言うなと、処理水だと言葉を言い換えてますけど、だからそれをね、薄めて流すっていうわけだ。だけどどうかっていうことについては何ら検証されてないんですよ。ただ安全だと政府は一方的に国民に押し付けてますけどね、その不安は多分拭えてないですね、日本人にとっても。
The discharge plan is said to ruin their individual businesses. That's why the Association of Local Fishermen expressed their opposition on the matter.
国民の暮らしを一切無視して汚染水を流そうとするわけですよ。その結果我々がどんだけね、営業上のまた苦しみを背負い、それをまた食べる消費者もね、本当に食べていいのか、この苦しみを新たに背負わさせるわけですよ。だから地元の漁協も反対だと言ってる。
To recall, the meltdown of the 3 core reactors Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant was caused by a strong earthquake that hit Japan in 2011. A total of 1 million tons of nuclear contaminated wastewater have been stored in the plant, including water used to cool down the reactor, the groundwater, as well as rainwater. This number continues to increase. Despite great opposition, Japan proceeded with its decision to filter and move the nuclear contaminated water last April 2021 and release it to the sea this year. The process is expected to take up to 20 to 30 years before completely clearing the power plant. 以上、菊崎ヘクトー日本から報告いたしました。SMNI News, Japan.
China has activated a level 4 emergency response after a deadly typhoon slammed several Asian countries. Chatmongkon Pisamay Goson tells us more.
Beijing witnessed its heaviest rainfall in 140 years as China faces its 6th typhoon of the year.
China's State Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters has activated a level 4 emergency response against Typhoon Khanun. A work team has also been deployed to East China's Zhejiang province to assist in local rescue efforts. The headquarters and the Ministry of Emergency Management urged utmost efforts to brace for heavy rainfall in the northeast and to closely monitor the development of the typhoon. There were reports of more than a dozen casualties, while more than 125,000 people have been evacuated.
The typhoon is forecasted to return to Japan, where it already left 2 people dead, thousands without power, and dozens injured. รายงานจากกรุงเทพมหานคร นายชัดมงคลวิสมัยโกศล SMNI ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
Thailand postponed a new parliamentary vote to select the country's next prime minister, with political deadlock in the Southeast Asian nation prolonged further. Anissa de Guzman reports.
Election winner and Move Forward Party leader Pita Limjaronrad faced another obstacle after Parliament President Wan Muhammad Noor Matha cancelled a critical meeting to vote the country's next political leader.
The vote was supposed to take place on Friday, August 4. According to the Parliament President, the court has yet to review the complaints about Pita's rejected renomination, noting that it needs careful consideration. A bid to renominate the election winner on July 19 was rejected after opponents argued the renomination violated Parliamentary Regulation 41, which prohibits the resubmission of a failed motion during the same parliamentary session. Moreover, the Ombudsman has requested to postpone the vote for the next Prime Minister.
The court is expected to announce its decision surrounding Pita's case on August 16. Di siya Anissa de Guzman, Dragan Chakuntep Mahanakon, SMNI News, Pratetay, Sawadika.
The Prime Minister of India has accepted his South African counterpart's invitation to attend the upcoming BRICS summit this August. Carlo de la Peña tells us more.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has confirmed his participation in the 15th BRICS summit, scheduled to be held in Johannesburg, South Africa, from August 22 to August 24. The decision was announced following a telephone conversation between Prime Minister Modi and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday. During the call, the two leaders discussed various regional and global issues of mutual interest and expressed satisfaction with the progress in bilateral cooperation between India and South Africa. The announcement comes after recent media reports that the Indian Prime Minister might not participate in person. To recall, various media outlets reported that the government of India was weighing having Modi attend the meeting virtually, considering the geopolitical developments that would see Russian President Vladimir Putin addressing the summit online. But on Thursday, India's spokesperson for External Affairs Ministry, Arindam Bagchi, refused to comment on the issue and told reporters not to believe in speculative media reports. It can be noted that in July, Russia announced that Putin would participate in the BRICS summit virtually, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov would represent him in person. Meanwhile, Putin is set to visit Turkey as announced by the office of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday, although the office did not provide a specific date. The Kremlin confirmed the talks, noting that both presidents agreed to maintain bilateral contact on multiple levels. Putin and Erdogan reached an agreement on a visit by the Russian president to Turkey. Both leaders also reportedly talked about the Black Sea grain deal. On the other hand, Russia is working to establish secure routes to supply the most vulnerable countries to provide free Russian grain. According to the Kremlin, the matter was raised at the Russia-Africa summit last week. The Kremlin also said Putin had expressed willingness to cooperate with Turkey and other interested countries regarding the matter. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Algeria pledges $1.5 billion to join the new development bank led by the BRICS economic bloc. Vigan has the details.
Algeria has applied to become a member of the new development bank, or NDB, and its president Abdelmajid Tebboune pledged funding of $1.5 billion upon its joining. To recall, Tebboune visited China from Monday to Friday upon the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Tebboune also held talks with Xi in Beijing on Tuesday. In an exclusive CCTV interview sent to SMNI News, the Algerian president discussed the country's ambition to join the BRICS group and the NDB.
وراسلنا السيدة المديرة رئيسة برازيل سابقة أن نكون أعضاء في مساهمين في بنك البريكس والمساهمة الأولى نتاعنا ستكون ب1.5 مليار دولار كمساهمة للدخول في بنك البريكس كذلك.
Formally opened in July 2015, the NDB was established by the BRICS nations, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And in 2021, NDB initiated membership expansion and admitted Bangladesh, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and Uruguay as its new member countries. This was not the first time that President Tebboune has expressed the willingness of his country joining the BRICS. He previously mentioned joining the said bloc in 2022, and during the visit, Tebboune hoped to advance the process to bring better economic prospects for Algeria.
انضمام الجزائر للبريكس لفتح آفاق جديدة اقتصادية، وافتح قوسين لأقول أننا مع الصين منذ سنوات نناضل من أجل عالم أفضل، عالم يكون فيه أكثر عدالة، بالأخص مساعدات الدول الفقيرة. نناضل من أجل عالم متعدد الأقطاب، لأن اليوم نشوف وإحنا دخلنا مع الصين في شيء اللي جابيه فخامة الرئيس من ناحية التنمية، العدالة، نشوف الهيئات الأممية. احنا مع الصين طالبين مراجعة كثير من الأمور، صندوق النقد الدولي، البنك العالمي، كلهم صبحوا ما هوش في فائدة الدول الفقيرة أو الدول النائية. إذا احنا العالم تاع البريكس يساعدنا أكثر. وبهذه المناسبة طالبنا رسميا الانضمام لمنظمة البريكس وانضمامنا رسميا إلى بنك البريكس.
Tebboune said he and his country support the Global Development Initiative, or GDI, the Global Security Initiative, or GSI, and the Global Civilization Initiative, or GCI, proposed by President Xi.
احنا منسجمين تماما 100% في هذه السياسة الثلاثية للرئيس شي بينغ. بدينا ومضينا اتفاقيات حتى في جزء من هذا السياسة، واحنا ماشيين مع الصين، ما فيش فرق.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Vigan, SMNI News.
China has confirmed it will drop tariffs on Australian barley as diplomatic tensions ease between the two major trading partners. Sheena Salem reports.
After years of tensions and a trade war that affected billions of dollars in trade, China's Commerce Ministry said it is no longer necessary to impose tariffs on the imported barley originating in Australia. Tariffs on Chinese barley will be dropped starting on Saturday, according to China's Ministry of Commerce. Canberra, for its part, said it will drop the case at the World Trade Organization over Beijing's duties on barley. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese welcomed the move as a sign of improving relationships between the two major trading partners. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong welcomed the announcement, which she said would benefit both Australian producers and Chinese consumers. Australia also called on China to drop tariffs on Australian wine. A bitter dispute urged Beijing to impose hefty tariffs on Australian exports of barley, beef, and wine, and other key commodities in 2020. Australia this week also invited China's new foreign minister to visit the country as diplomatic tensions ease between the two sides. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Sheena Salem, SMNI News, Australia.
Pastor Polo Sikiboloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ praised Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB, for their prompt response to complaints regarding explicit scenes shown on a noontime show. Jade Galabroso tells us more.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy expressed his thanks for the immediate action taken by the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB, regarding complaints about offensive scenes shown on a noontime show on July 25. On Monday, July 31, the producers of the noontime program, It's Showtime, were immediately summoned by the MTRCB following numerous complaints from netizens who found the scene inappropriate, especially considering that many children watched the show. In the show segment, Isip Bata, the real-life partners were seen playfully teasing each other while demonstrating how to handle cake icing. The MTRCB stated in their memorandum that the said scene violated Section 3 of Presidential Decree No. 1986 and its implementing rules and regulations.
Ay, ngayon, magiging sample sa mga kabataan yan? Diba? O di, salamat naman sa MTRCB at nakita nila ito.
The good pastor also blamed the influence of Western culture, particularly on social media, for the display of explicit scenes.
Pero itong mga asal na ganito, asal-aso yan. Galing sa degradation ng West yan eh. O, ito namang mga bunsang libutan, tinitingnan naman kung anong ginagawa nitong taga-kanluran, tapos sinusunod, pati kalaswan sinusunod. O, lalo ngayon may social media. Maghubad ang babae dyan, walang kaso yan. Parang natural na lang sa kanila yan. Lahat nandyan na. Tapos gagaya-gayahin natin dito.
Pastor Apollo also emphasized that SMNI will never air such explicit scenes.
Sa SMNI, ay naku, huwag kayong gaganon. Wala, hindi pwede dito yung mga kalaswaan na ganyan. Hindi pwede dito yan. Kaya dito, family-oriented and nation-building. At saka, isang araw, ibabalik natin yung pagtuturo ng good manners and right conduct dito. Yung mga Filipino culture na napakaganda, yung nagmamano ka sa mga nakakatanda sa iyo, nanay at tatay, nire-respeto mo. Ibabalik natin yun. At yung pagtutulong-tulong sa mga nakakatanda sa iyo, ang respeto, ganon. Mga example lang yun ng magandang asal.
It's worth noting that on its showtime, Vice Ganda also insulted and challenged Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy to end ang probinsyano and solve the traffic problem on EDSA, which later came true. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNI News.
The Civil Service Commission is guiding workers who will be affected by the government right-sizing initiative. How will the job security of these workers be ensured? MJ Mondihar has the details.
Exactly a month ago, President Bongbong Marcos convened his cabinet to further advance the government right-sizing program. Under this initiative, the government will reduce its workforce across its agencies. This entails implementing reskilling and upskilling programs for government personnel. This effort aims to reduce manpower costs and eliminate redundant or overlapping positions. If an employee cannot be transferred to another agency, they might face demotion. And if neither of those options is feasible, termination from their position might be a possibility. However, there's no need to worry, according to the Civil Service Commission. CSC Chairman Carlo Alexi Nograles assures that the job security of all those affected by right-sizing is guaranteed.
Dito sa pag-finalize ng right-sizing law, in-ensure naman po natin na yung security of tenure and protection ng ating mga workers ay nandun pa rin.
In fact, Nograles mentioned the appropriate job placements will be sought for those impacted by the program.
So ganun din po mangyayari sa right-sizing, no? Pag mag-reorganize to make sure na yung mga pag gumawa ng mga bagong posisyon ay mabibigyan po ng first priority, no, ang mga nandun na sa loob na mga nagtatrabaho na sa organisasyon or sa government office na yan, na mabigyan silang comparable position.
Right-sizing was not mentioned in President Marcos' 2023 State of the Nation address, although it was one of his mandates under the National Government Right-Sizing Program, or NGRP, in his 2022 SONA.
The NGRP will entail a comprehensive strategic review of the functions, operations, organization, system, and processes of the different agencies, and massive and transformational initiatives in agencies concerned, such as mergers, consolidations, splitting, transfer, and even the abolition of some offices. The right-sizing efforts will also involve the conduct of a comprehensive strategic review of functions, programs, and projects that will cut across various agencies.
According to Nograles, the government will ensure that employees who choose to leave the government due to right-sizing will receive separation pay rather than participate in the initiative.
So yun yung first step, no, that make sure na may malalagay sila sa comparable position. At mabigyan din po sila ng option na kung ayaw naman po nilang magpatuloy, ay meron silang matatanggap na separation pay. Yun naman ang nakalagay, no, sa mga provisions ng right sizing.
As of now, the administration is finalizing the final version of the right-sizing program with key efforts from key government agencies. For Ganang Mabulong Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
The UAE's latest nuclear reactor has provided around 25% of the world's clean electricity needs based on a report by the World Nuclear Association. Jonathan Acobo reports.
Marhaba, the Baraka nuclear power plant has played a major role in compensating the declining energy production in Europe, partly due to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The Director General of the World Nuclear Association said the turmoil in energy markets has started even before the current conflict in Ukraine has sent fossil fuel prices sky high. According to the association, nuclear energy now provides about 25% of the world's energy needs, made possible in part by the Unit 3 of the South Korean APR-1400, or Korean Next Generation Reactor, at the United Arab Emirates, UAE, Baraka nuclear plant. Located in the Al Dhafra region, Baraka is the first nuclear power plant in the Arab world which consists of 4 pressurized water-cooled reactor units. The third nuclear reactor started operations last year and has already powered more than 80% of Abu Dhabi's clean electricity consumption in December 2022. The operation of the nuclear reactor has increased Baraka's total production of zero carbon emission electricity to 4,200 megawatts for the UAE national grid. Preparations to operate the 4th and final reactor unit of the Baraka nuclear station was announced in June, while commercial operations are likely to begin in 2024. Tarjublak Almazimin Taditi at Karum Nabay Kanada Jonathan Cobos My News Nedidar Emirates.
Saudi Arabia has announced an economic aid package worth $1.2 billion to help alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. Melchizedek Cadiz is back for more news.
Yemen is suffering from years of devastation and humanitarian disasters caused by the ongoing civil war, which started in 2014. The war pushed the country into a state of severe crisis. Yemen is facing problems such as currency depreciation, high costs, and lack of essential services, while famine, cholera, and COVID-19 pose risk to the nation. According to the United Nations, around 16 million Yemenis are at risk of starvation, while more than 20 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. In 2017, Saudi Arabia has been the single largest donor of humanitarian aid to Yemen, providing more than $840 million in humanitarian assistance. Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
Qatar has deployed more humanitarian aid for the conflict-stricken families in Sudan as fighting intensifies in the Northeast African country. Ronel Mirabel has the rest of the details.
Assalamualaikum. A Qatari airplane carrying 14 tons of food and medical supplies arrived in Sudan as conflict enters more than 100 days. Qatar resumed its air bridge to war-torn Sudan this week. The latest humanitarian effort brought Qatar's total aid to Sudan to 371 tons since May. This came after rights groups warned the Sudanese refugee crisis could soon become a humanitarian catastrophe. The war in Sudan broke out in April 15 following tensions between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The rival factions once previously shared power under a 4-year agreement following the toppling of a former longtime Sudanese ruler Omar al-Bashir in 2019. The conflict has killed more than 3,000, although the actual figure is believed to be much higher. Sudan has extended the closure of civilian airspace until August 15, with flights for humanitarian and evacuation purposes exempted from the measure. Al-Takrir min al-Davao Kanhada Ronel Mirabel, SMNI News, Qatar.
Filipino businessman in the UK actively joined a friendly golf tournament in its second year, held in Royal Epping Forest Golf Course on July 30, 2023. The said event started as a hobby between friends, but it also aims to raise financial support for a particular foundation in the Philippines called House of Hope. Devina Esguerra tells us more.
Eager to establish a golf club society, Mr. John Lanzilla, the organizer of the golf tournament, has consistently and successfully made it on the second year, having more sponsors and connections this time around. Familiar faces can be seen as Filipino golfers meet for the second year. The British weather did not stop the excited golfers from completing the tournament. This year, not only Filipinos joined the sports with a cause, but also some British golfers.
I've just had a fantastic day. It's the House of Hope celebration. A friend of mine is a member at Royal Epping Forest Golf Club. Fortunately, he invited me to play golf today, and it's been a great day. I'm an ex-golf professional of 30 years, and I've just retired. And we had a fantastic day. Good luck, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Most of the golfers have their own businesses here in the UK, and the organizer took his opportunity. Kingdom.
Gymnasts performed well in their first match for their China stint. Meanwhile, gymnast Carla Eljulo secured a gold medal in the all-around event of the Palarong Pambansa 2023. Joris Bonifacio tells us more.
SMNI News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. That's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and for my beloved Philippines, I am Franco Baranda. Thank you for watching Newsline World. And thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo C. Cablelink, for the opportunity to be part of this program. May you continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.